And we are live.
What's up? What's up?
Ooh, how's everybody?
It's Ultra Podcast Z episode 217. Uh, my favorite thing is when you tweet something, and what I'm pretty sure is a spam bot account just like likes it. I'm like, what are they looking for besides spam?
They're looking for your hard-earned dollar.
Eggs.
Oh, I love spam. Anyways, it's Ultra Podcast Z. I'm Manuel, as always, leader of AJ Connections and resident cryptid or something. I don't know. Where's Fengi? Is she in Japan? I know she
Uh,
said she was going to Japan.
soon.
Anyway, we need Fengi on again when she gets back. Christmas Fengi.
A Christmas cryptid? Or cryptid
Christmas
Christmas?
cryptid. Cryptid Christmas. Anyways. So back as joining us today is Photaku Josh. Say hi.
Hi. This time not in the mask. That was totally me. That was not some other random
Yeah,
person.
that wasn't Emma Roberts or fucking
One of the
Matthew
Colton
Lillard.
kids. Or yeah.
Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet
Eat
Ulrich.
over. Eat over.
Anyways, yeah, we're talking Japanese
Oh,
horror media tonight, so
I'm
it's
so
more
flipped.
weeby than usual. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't know. I took a lot of notes of things I wanted to talk about, mainly like franchises I wanted to mention, but I realized something. Oops, shit. Let me close this down. It's too white. I realized something when I was making my notes. What do you consider horror
What do I consider horror?
when it comes to like anime or manga specifically? Because obviously, I think it's a lot different with movies. But what do you consider horror anime?
As an aesthetic, I would have to say that it has to be like dreary. There's probably going to be like blood involved in it. Maybe some like something occult, but I would probably consider horror anything that like actually fills me with like dread.
Yeah, because I went to a list, and because like I felt that was the easy thing to do. I'm like, I'm gonna Google best horror anime and see which ones I have actually seen. And the
Mhm.
first list I clicked had Berserk on it. Mind you, it was low on the list, but it had Berserk, and I'm like, I would not call Berserk horror anime.
I mean, to be
Uh,
fair, it does have some cosmic horror elements if you think about it. What are the God Hand if not like demonic beings or some kind of like beings corrupted by outside influence?
well, I guess I don't know. I would never have said Berserk. Um, Also, Devilman was on there, which I would say, but also Elfenlied was on there, which is probably closer. Oh,
I'm
no,
seeing like a lot of gore in those,
see,
like a
that's
lot
what
of
I mean.
gore or like despair.
A, a
Maybe you
real,
get me?
a really good one that I saw that really made me think, and it made me think hard because I feel like this one walks the line a lot better. Is Gantz, because Gantz, I've always thought it was just gory action, not horror. It's like it it is to horror what Resident Evil 5 is to Resident Evil 1. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like it it has the tropes, it has the violence, it has the gore, but it's also action. I don't know,
Yeah,
this feels like a hard.
I agree with you. Like that's why it's kind of hard. It's also why that was a great comparison between Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 5. And I just recently did a stream with a friend of mine for like absolutely not shameless plugging in for a Peak Filler podcast. Totally check us out. Not here, but on YouTube. But maybe we'll do a Twitch stream maybe sometime. But anyway, that stuff aside, um, at the end of it, I kind of had a better idea of what would probably be considered a horror anime. And I think the best example was probably Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue.
See that that for sure I would throw that in horror. As a matter of fact, I see that on a lot of lists that aren't even anime or aren't animated, which is fair. Like a lot of times you'll be like, "Oh, best J horror movies," like, and you'll see like Ring and House and Perfect Blue, like, and like obviously I'm sure Guillermo del Toro's like, happy as all hell the animation's being thrown in there. But even me, I'm like, do we put anime with the live action?
Yes.
Eh. I wouldn't. That's just me. That's just the purist in me. But I do agree it's horror. It's also really good. But yeah, Perfect Blue definitely is. Um, Death Note
Yeah,
was
I
on a
like
lot of
to.
lists. Death Note, well, I guess Death Note's more horror than any, isn't it? It's fucking Shinigami and death.
It's more of like baby's first psychological anime, if we're being honest about
Yeah,
Death Note, maybe.
that one I don't know if I'd go fully into horror in that one. Like if you portray it from like the victims or from the other side without seeing light and doing all that stuff, maybe it'd be a lot easier for me to classify it as horror.
I mean, we have. I mean, it's not anime, but like, I figure if you're seeing it from the opposite end, I guess that Suicide Club movie would probably
Oh,
be like
Suicide
best
Club.
example.
Yes. I want to talk about that one particularly. Also, JD, I think you're quiet on the stream. You're quiet to me too, but I think you're quiet on the
Yeah, you
stream.
seem quiet.
I
Okay.
wanted to. I was waiting for you to talk on because I didn't want to say talk and pretend we're fixing it live. But yeah,
Is
I
this any
had to make
better?
sure.
I got a
Let
bit
me check
closer to
on
my
the stream.
mic. Let me turn it up another notch. Is that doing anything better?
Hold on. I don't think I'm hearing you at all on the stream. Sorry for the dead silence, guys.
Okay. Just I'll sit out this one. Go on without me while I
Oh
figure it out.
God, JD's broken. Well, you can keep talking to us, and we'll try to reply. Just
Yep.
keep it talking brief, so it's not like we just don't get quiet for no reason. Yes, he can't
Oh,
hear
good.
JD.
I'm trying to also share the thing too. So sorry if I'm like looking down for a sec. I'm trying to be
But
productive.
anyway, we were talking. What was the last thing we said? I already forgot. Sorry. Not the
Suicide
movie.
Club.
Oh, Suicide Club. See, Suicide Club is a live action movie, and it starts with See, Suicide Club is definitely horror, and it's definitely like a lot of things. But I honestly feel a lot of people have not seen beyond that opening scene, which is fucking wild, by the way. Where all these Japanese schoolgirls just jump on a train and like yeet themselves from existence.
Oh, you're really trying to make yourself sound cool, Manuel.
Yes, they yeet themselves. I am a
Get your Zoomer terminology out of here.
The Great Horror Family is a show. What's the Great Horror Family? But anyway, um, but yeah, otherwise anime like a lot of it is adaptation stuff. One of my favorites that I saw on the list that I kept looking up was Corpse Party, which is
Mhm.
based on the game.
Yeah.
Um, Gantz. See, Gantz, I feel like it's too actiony to be horror, but like it does feature like at that point, if you're looking at Gantz as horror, it's Attack on Titan horror because
I
like
mean, that one is definitely some cosmic existential dread right there. Yeah.
also one of the lists I looked at, which I loved by the way that it had that this was on there, had School Days.
Oh, your favorite anime.
School days.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my
If
favorite.
if you really care about your love life and you want to see how things can go horribly wrong to the point where you should like scare yourself into being a good person, then yeah, school days definitely counts.
Exactly. So School Days is the horror of what happens if you, well, see, he's an asshole too, but I kind of feel like everyone in that show, like I don't think anyone's really good. Everyone, well, Kodo Noha maybe, but like we did a whole episode on School Days, so I won't go too deep into this. But did we do a whole episode on School Days? I'm making that up, JD. I don't
You
remember.
talked about it in our post AX episodes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a whole School Days awakening around AX. Josh, you missed it. Like, I I learned about it at AX. I never seen it. Okay, I had seen the game, but I had never really like. I didn't know it was anything more than just like a dating sim visual novel bullshit. I didn't realize that like it got very stabby at the end. But I guess that's horror by the end. I don't know. But see, also, like, do you consider like some of the hentai stuff horror? Like Bible Black came to mind immediately.
I mean, I was having this conversation again with my like other host, and we brought up, funny enough, hentai stuff. So we thought Metamorphosis was probably like
Oh, see?
the best example of like a legitimately scary fucking thing. Like, I can't take Bible Black seriously because
Really?
yeah, the dub and probably the dub is like
Oh,
the
the
only
dub.
real way to enjoy Bible Black because watching it watching it without the dub is like watching ghost stories without the dub. It's just kind of boring and I guess horny, but that's about it. Um, unless if you're like the type. Here's the other thing too. Terrible example. Bad comparison. But it's like The Exorcist, and everybody said The Exorcist is like the scariest thing, and then I watch it, and I'm like, this is like terrible. I'm not afraid, but I'm not afraid of demonic possession. I don't know if maybe that's what should elevate like um Bible Black to like horror status or not, but genuinely if we're talking about like something that's horny that scared me was probably Metamorphosis, and it's only because it feels like it's ludicrous, it is insane. Clearly there are too many things fetishized in that doujinshi, but like something about it feels like it wouldn't be too far off from reality. It's like probably one or two steps away from reality. There was something about it that just generally made me feel like, oh fuck, man. Oh man. Oh
It,
dude.
going along with that motif, I should say. Um, I actually Bible Black. Just I have a huge nostalgia for Bible Black, so I could talk about that forever. Real fast, I'm going to mention for like the 18th time I've mentioned it in podcast, 18th podcast. Me and my friends, like around like my 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 late teens, early 20s days, we used to like party and drink at like little house party things, and we would watch Bible Black. Like, well, we watch other things too, but specifically, we watched every episode of Bible Black and the Origins, or the fuck that other one was called, at like
Mhm.
during the party, like as a group. Just put it on in the background, and we're all just laughing and going crazy about it. But the hentai, I would look more as horror, which is funny because like part of me feels like it would be a good horror almost if it didn't have the hentai. Like I almost would like I'm sure the releases where you can edit it out is Urotoku Doji, the Legend of the Overfiend, the Toshio
Mhm.
Maeda one. The very tentacly porn. Um,
Yeah.
that one that one feels like a sexed up devil man because they're both very like they're not post
You're
apocalyptic.
saying sexed up as if we're not getting
Well,
like
devil man sexed up too, but
a
yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
we don't get the like I'm not sure if it was episode like 4 or 7 because it goes so fast and to I didn't go back to watch it after the first time because I already was like torn apart because I'd never read it before. So somebody said like, "Yeah, there's like a modern take on it." And by the end I was like, "Holy cow." So the fact that there is in that series a like demonic fight SA scene is like is it even SA? It's like a full on like what's it called? Sex scene, but it's like clearly not consensual.
Unfortunately, without delving too much in this topic, and I should say it because I don't want this to come off as mad recommendations, and someone out there who has never heard of Legend of the Overfiend or never heard of Bubble Black somehow are taking notes. Um, these two in particular, but a lot of hentai in general, but these two especially, and even some other shows that we might mention here and there have a lot of essays. So proceed with caution.
Yeah.
uh, just
Well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's there, but like genuinely, I didn't expect to see it in what I thought when I saw this. I thought was just gonna be like a mature rated shonen.
What, Legend of the
This
Overfiend or Devilman?
no, Devilman.
Oh well, Devilman has a lot of it too. Like, see,
uh,
that's the thing. Devilman is funny because like Devilman is hilarious because you can there is a family friendly version of Devilman. It's the 1960, 19 whatever 70 whatever 70 I think it was actually
it's
whatever year
only
that.
family friendly because they never finished it.
Yeah, that version, like, devil with the devil kick and the devil wing and like, when he's basically a superhero. That one, you can watch that one and just be chill. But any true thing to Go Guy is gonna be sexed up and insane. Go Guy did Devilman, and
Mhm.
Toshio Maeda did did Legend of
Oh,
the Overfiend.
Toshio Maeda.
I love Toshio Maeda, by the way. We have an interview with him on the A to G channel, and he's fucking amazing. He have you ever met him?
I have not.
Okay, he goes to a lot of conventions, but he's at Sac. Well, I don't think he's. I don't know. He definitely doesn't live here. I'm not sure why he goes to Sac Anime so often, but I used to always see him in Sac
What?
Anime.
I must
But
have not gone when he went then. That I'm just like, what the hell is he doing at Sac Anime?
like
What?
both his panels and hanging out with them, like he just like he's fluent in English and he has a mouth on him. Like he just like he talks about sex, talks about sleeping with like sex workers, talking about like cheating on his wife, like sex with his wife, and I'm like, oh
Is
my
he
god,
is
dude.
he still in a relationship with this wife and he's been forgiven, or is this clearly like
Okay,
an ex-wife?
don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on this because I might be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think his wife is his manager. He's always there with it.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure
Okay,
that's
maybe it's just a culture shock thing. Maybe we're just
well,
really
to be fair, I think he's joking. I think he's joking for I don't know, but I think he's joking. I'll never. Sorry, this is mildly off topic, but Toshio Maeda is relevant, even though these stories aren't. But one of the stories he talked about, he was a reporter, and he was like he does a lot of jobs. He's even written like shoujo manga and shit like that. But he was doing an article for some magazine, like as a guest reporter for like doing it about like brothels or something in Japan. So he was sleeping with all these random sex workers, and his wife's like, "What are you doing?" And he's all like, "It's for work." That's one of
Okay,
the
Manuel.
stories he told. Anyway,
He saying it's for work, but like couldn't he have also have said I'm getting first account stories? I'm not literally like
I know
having sex with them. Like
you could pay them. You could pay them for the night and just take some notes. You don't have to.
unless if you
Anyway.
just really want to get visual, we know that for some reason some very popular hentai have quite the budget when they want to have the budget.
I got saved by
Oh, okay,
Josie.
can we go
Anyways,
get back to talking about J horror,
Devil
please?
Man. Devil
Mhm.
Man, and sorry, Legend of the Overfiend. It's great. You should watch it anyway. Honestly, I said this before. It's iconic for its whole thing like kind of like popularizing hentai as we know it in the West. It also has an amazing dub, as in like it's terrible. Uh, and yeah, everyone should watch that. Anyways, let's move on from the hentai stuff because I feel like I'm gonna somehow segue this back into
It's
Toshio Maeda telling funny stories.
Please, please, please.
it's just hard because I
It's hard.
like because like it's this is like the best recommendation I know still so far where you want something that's just undeniably horror anime and it's another. But who by
Oh,
now has not seen or talked about another, which is just essentially anime Final Destination with a little bit of Japanese occult sprinkled on top of it. It is probably the best example without it having to lean into any other subgenre, and it's kinda hard when that's, like, the best example. Like, I could once again bring up Perfect Blue, but the problem with Perfect Blue is that it's, like, still kinda situational about how it is both a critique on the Japanese entertainment industry, as well as then seeing what that parasocial relationship like, I feel it really got better with age, but again, it's not the type of thing where it's like, yes, this is a horror. What is it about? And it's like the only thing I could tell someone nowadays is like, think of Oshinoko with no incest.
well, speaking of that, there's a lot of these horror elements, but another straight horror one, and I guess this kind of goes into the movie territory. Uh, I prefer the original Vampire Hunter D, but a lot of people of a certain age, especially like fans, like Bloodlust, which is the second one.
Mhm.
Um, but that's a good horror take. It's Dracula. Well, it's Alec. It's wannabe. The D stands for Dracula. It's basically Dracula's son, who's a half vampire, and he has a magic hand that can bring him back to life when he dies, and do other shit. Um, I didn't want to use the word Dampier because I don't know if the books do. By the way, I used to be a huge fan of D because I used to be a huge fan of D, but Dark Horse used to publish the books, translate them and publish them, and I used to read them religiously. But then I had to get rid of them because I had just too much shit. I regret that because now most of them are out of print. but I don't like the terminology that the books use is odd. Have you seen Vampire Hunter D, Josh?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. And every now and then I see somebody that shows me a clip or something from it, but I haven't seen like actually sat down and watched Vampire Hunter
Yeah,
D. My bad.
yeah, yeah. The original one starts with this girl who's all like, I need a vampire. She's like waiting on the side of the road for vampire hunters, and she fights them to challenge them to see if they're strong enough. And Dee's the first one who shows up at the start of the movie, and then as soon as it's done, she's all like I got bit by a vampire, and I don't have any money to pay you, but I'll pay you with my body. And then she like strips naked. It's such an 80s anime trick.
What?
It's like, what is this anime? And I remember I rented this tape when I was like 9. And I was like, what am I watching?
Manuel, just how messed up was your childhood?
Oh, it's pretty fucked up. But yeah, that's the way it starts. She's like, I have no money, but I'll pay you like this. She rips off her clothes and like, very 80s anime girl naked, like big forehead and
When she
everything.
rips off her clothes, does it very elegantly, like,
Oh yeah,
and
no,
in a very showboaty way come off?
yeah, it's nighttime and there's wind and there's grass and it's all her hair is blowing and like the strands of clothes that she ripped away blow away. It very much is. And then of course D's like I don't think D says anything. He's kind of just like vampire, like he doesn't give a rat's ass about the girl. He's a fucking for reasons. He just likes to kill vampires, and he's all like, "You had me a vampire," and he just goes over and fights it, and that's the plot of that movie basically.
Does it have
It
anything to
also
be, or does it have anything to do with being Dracula's son and not liking his dad?
that's pretty much it.
I mean, you
Also,
gave it away when you introduced the series, Manuel.
fun fact, if you read the books, it turns out that this is a post-apocalyptic world where somewhere in the 2000s or 2100 or whatever, vampires popped up back from the earth, like they were sleeping, took over the earth, enslaved all of humanity for thousands of years. Then about the year 6000, aliens showed up. And even though vampires like want to enslave humanity, they're like, these are our humans. Like you can't come here and enslave them. So like the
This sounds very what's it called? Guymax. This sounds very Guymax. Did someone from Guymax work on this?
probably, but then the fuckers like fight the aliens and they kind of like
Yeah.
fuck each other up and destroy most of everything. And then the
Yeah.
series takes place in the year 9000, which is like
Okay.
3000 more years later. So
Of course.
every so often D wanders around and he finds like alien stuff and then he finds vampire stuff, like old stuff. But but it's actually yeah, it's a really good series. Nobody will ever find out about that backstory unless you read all 20 some odd. I'm sure they've published more since then, but I read like the first 20 or so novels and I'm like, yeah. And Dracula's still alive and Dee's hunting for him, and I spoiled the plot of just about every book. Dee comes
It's
into a
okay.
city.
This really sounds a lot like Gurren Lagann. Just like
Gurren Lagann horror anime. It's on my list of anime to watch. Uh,
Well,
anyway,
even if it's not horror, it's really good.
is it real? It's funny because I'm doing a panel on girls and giant robot anime, and Gurren Lagann's on my list of possible things. Not in like the Gundam Witch from Mercury, where I definitely have to watch, but it's in the list of like maybe watch this one. Anyway, uh, it's funny because like going back to the whole like is Death Note anime? I mean, Death Note anime. Yes, Death Note is anime. Is Death Note horror? Demon Slayer was on a lot of lists. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't call Demon Slayer horror anime. I guess it's
I
demons.
I mean, it's an action with horror elements. I'll give it that. Like I will defend it more in the fantasy bit of it, which I think it got a lot of criticism after it won like best fantasy at the Crunchyroll Awards or whatever. But it is definitely a fantasy anime. I will give it that.
I
Wait, it
don't
won the best.
I don't understand.
I wouldn't
I don't
call it
understand
fantasy.
where do they want this to be in? Like, is there just a plain shonen category, or is it all like
No, I think they had it by like they had like certain genres getting them. So there was like fantasy, Uh, I think I don't even remember the categories. I didn't watch it. I just watched like the results.
Were they more
Oh,
map of what the other nominees were?
Yeah, there are
Because what were the other
lots more
nominees?
traditional fantasies.
Goblin Slayer.
No, that wasn't up this year. I'll look it up. Keep talking about horror anime.
Anyway,
Okay, yeah.
anyway, it's just funny. I saw on the list a lot too. But you mentioned Ghost Stories, and I think Ghost Stories is a perfect example of horror anime. Fun fact, and I know I said fun fact earlier, but I don't think I've ever been able to talk about this during a stream, and I even did a DTL on the anime before I knew this. I'm sure I don't know if you know this, Josh. Hey, okay, you've seen it, right? So
Ghost Stories, yeah.
yes, you know all about the dub, about like about the,
Yes.
you know, it'll never work between us, not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black and shit like that. I was like, oh my god, like some of the crazy shit that show says and does.
Dude, from the get-go, it's saying the weirdest things, sometimes purposely to insult how they fill in the ad lib. It is ridiculous. Oh man, just yeah.
Did you know this though? Did you know that everything you've heard about why the dub is like that is a lie?
Wait, hold on. Really quick. Here's what I heard about the dub being the way
Okay.
that it is. Okay. Um So the reason that the dub is the way that it is simply because Ghost Stories just didn't seem to be all that hype or interesting of a series coming out of Japan. Same thing as what's it called? Cowboy Bebop. Okay? So they pretty much have it up for someone to buy. And when it gets bought, there's not really a team that's involved when they see that like, oh, this isn't a beloved property, it didn't seem to be doing that well. Go ham, it's kind of a lightning in the bottle situation for both of Ghost Stories and for Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop having a very dedicated team that want to really make something more out of this, and we got a lot of legendary performers out of it. Um, some great newcomers, and the music in addition to what they add to it was also pretty bomb. But in the case of Ghost Stories, since they pretty much had no one telling them what to do, they were like, what can we do with this? And here's just from what I heard was just simply that let's see who's willing to get involved with us, and let's just have like, not that this was stated, but like the earliest version of a bridge series ever, and just roll with it. That's what I came to believe that Ghost Stories dub was.
See, that's what I thought too. And when I did my DTL, that's what I repeated. Um, there's a bit more to it, but like that's what I repeated. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Can you believe that they like shit? What a weird clash of things. But no. Two things.
Okay.
One, the show was not a failure. It was a hit show in Japan. It was based on a very popular series of books that have also been
Okay.
adapted into movies and games, and the anime was a hit. The reason why it's an odd number of episodes. The reason why it's 21 episodes is not because it was cut short, but because it was extended. It was a core and a half. Is that the word? A core? Uh,
Mhm.
it,
Yes.
it was it was meant to be a 13 episode series that got an extension to make it 21, but not a full 24, 26, whatever the fuck, blah. So that's the reason why the odd number of episodes. It was a hit. It was not like I think it was meant to
Hmm.
fill a slot like in between Naruto seasons or some bullshit in Japan. So not only was it a hit, but they expected it to be a hit and put it in a prime time slot. So all this already is like, wait, then what about the rest? And then it turns out
Yeah.
that it wasn't just giving. Okay, admittedly, part of the rumors are true. These are back in the days when ADV was like the king of fucking anime. It was they
Yes.
they they were to anime what Tokyo Pop was to manga, like in the early two
Oh my
thousands.
god, that is such a good comparison.
Yes, they were releasing everything. And so what I do understand, it was part of like a package deal, and it was like, here, take these 20 shows and like give us $20
Mhm.
million. Or who knows the numbers? So don't quote me on that. Whatever. So they took
Let's
it.
just say it was
And
rather affordable good deal. Like that's the
yes,
best way of just saying it.
But the problem is now where it all falls apart, and the weird thing is, and it's actually kind of anticlimactic. The dude who wrote the dub,
Mhm.
once you start looking at his track record, you realize that this isn't the first show that he's done this to. That he's like made into a joke. Very famously, I've never seen it, but there's clips of it too. If you look hard enough, Game Saga, and this is more recent. This is not ADV anymore. This is like, what the fuck are they called? The high dive people?
Sentai.
I
Sentai
dive.
Filmworks, yeah.
Okay.
Um, by the way, look into how ADV bankrupted themselves. It's okay. This is my opinion. Don't sue me, Sentai. But like they kind of, it's my opinion that they did shady things and bought themselves to get out of bankruptcy. This is bullshit. But anyways,
That sounds like a very normal thing, but
it's
okay.
all the same people at Sentai that were at ADV, including this fucking writer guy.
Mhm.
When Geen Saga came out, this dude didn't like Geen Saga for some reason and just started like doing bullshit to the dub where people are like just saying the wackiest offhand bullshit. And it is in Geen Saga's case, I think partly was because nobody was buying it or watching it or whatever, so he just started fucking with shit. This dude, TLDR, that's it. This dude just decided he didn't like ghost stories and he thought it was boring, and so he decided like, oh, I don't want to do this straight. And if you watch it, if you watch the Japanese, it's, I mean, everyone knew this. Japanese is not like that at all. It's a very straight show.
Yeah, that
And he was
and that's
just
what
bored
I
by it and just decided that, I'm gonna throw in all these antiquated jokes and Macarena references and whatever the fuck else he did. I don't think Macarena was in there, but I remember that Final Fantasy X. But it's all bullshit like that. He just did it for kicks.
if so they got a good deal when they got a whole list of different anime.
It was a
But if
hit
it
show that he
actually
ruined.
But how did they by they I mean anyone from Japan that would have been associated with the show, because my understanding, especially when you like go back to check out things like My Hero Academia, like this wasn't brought up as a comparison of sort. I just remember that when I was at a My Hero Academia related panel, and some of the voice actresses also helped out with the uh I believe the translation or localization. Some of the voice actresses also helped out with the localization of it. And so they said that due to how popular My Hero Academia is, there is a team specifically
Oh yeah.
that also handles like, okay, we're looking over what your scripts are for the localization. And most of the time it ends up just going over with the manga, which does make it a lot easier to then be kind of like, okay, here's part of the script, and then here's what we need voiced and everything. So a lot of times, like we're at a point where it's like, oh, how do they get My Hero to come out so fast with its dub? And it's because, well, literally this whole system is both already the manga is already out there. We use that to what's it called, kind of reference in the script. But the other part is because it's so popular, there's also a team from Japan that makes sure that what's it called, the dub, the localization, like that it's still pretty on point with what is the Japanese dub.
Okay.
It's been
So
my understanding that apparently the Japanese side of things wasn't that oversightful. Like not that they didn't care, but it's like there wasn't a lot of over the shoulder shit.
mhm,
And apparently, and obviously a lot of this is lost to time because the only people who really know this is like the old ADV staffers, like, because I think this guy he acts in it too. I think he wrote the script by himself. It's not like this big team on the US side of things. And I think
mhm,
if the current consensus, and by the way, I'll try to find it later, that there was a YouTube video, and mind you, I found this out before. I think an article broke it, and then the YouTube video kind of like expanded on it, where
yeah.
they mentioned that the thought is that if anyone would ever ask, like apparently somebody was asked, somebody was quoted at this, don't quote me directly, but I'll find the video, that
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this has to be done for localization to make it a hit here. And Japan's like, oh, I guess, I guess you need to call the rabbit black. It's like, whatever. And they just go with it.
So okay, now
Isn't
this
that
is kind of
wild? It's
like
like,
face palmy, because there are people who will literally throw shit at current localization and translators.
oh, there've been tons of shit like this, and people have started to notice. Like, sorry, JD, this is mildly off topic, but there were A Skies of Arcadia is one of the most popular like RPGs that everyone wants to bring back. It's like a Sega RPG from the Dreamcast. I think it was on
Yeah,
the GameCube
prim
too.
Yeah.
primarily
Some
that's locked more so to the Dreamcast, but yeah.
translators put like change things just to put their names into it, or put their like somebody, I think, named the sword after his girlfriend or some bullshit like that. And like, and people are only now discovering all this turn of the century. I hate to use that term, but that's what it was. 90s, 2000s. This turn of the century type media, where localizers did not fucking care. Or to be fair, they did care, but they also were kind of jerks about it. It's like getting longtime viewers know this. Josh probably would. It's like if Pleiades became a translator, and he's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna make Ghost Stories. This is the most edgelord thing ever,"
Yeah, that would definitely seem like something he would do. But I
and
don't
shit
know.
like that.
Sometimes when replacing names, it's either just like a reference you wouldn't get anyway because it's some like seminal piece of Japanese like lore that a lot of
Mm.
people don't understand. Like I think that's fine in some cases.
Shintoism is like at
Oh yeah,
both times like something people are familiar with, but equally because there is so much to Shinto like god lore. It's it's very easy to lose the plot. I want to use a different comparison, but yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah,
it's very easy to just like get lost in the thick of it
yeah. I was
and
thinking
not
more
think
of
much of
like
it.
holy swords or things that might get replaced in translation by like Excalibur, Durandal, or some kind of
Mhm.
those references that is essentially conveys the same thing. It's like, oh hey, this is a super powerful sword. What am I going to name it after? A super powerful sword that everybody in the West knows, rather than one like a few people who studied East Asian mythology might know.
Yeah,
oh, we
yeah,
can't hear you on the stream now. Sorry, I went back on the stream to make sure we actually hear you.
Yeah,
I was
I
about.
I fixed it.
Also, it's also my understanding that I mean, I kind of implied that too. That's kind of the same thing. That apparently that's a big reason why the anime turned out Ghost Stories turned out the way it did, because the dude
yeah.
didn't want to tell a traditional. Because a lot of it's very, very like that. A lot of it's very
No,
like
it
the
is.
kind of the kind of stories you would hear in a local town that in the country, and he didn't want to tell like these very traditional ghost stories. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking make up some mad bullshit.
It's like it's so weird though, and it also just to relate back to Demon Slayer because like Demon Slayer's popularity is very very renowned. Like there are people that you believe have no business knowing what Demon Slayer is, and yet there'll be like some old guy who will be kind of like, "Oh, Yatsuno
Kimetsu no
so
Yaiba.
yeah, like he'll and it was funny, like I had a friend also who like went to Japan also and they were just kind of chilling and everything. Like clearly One Piece is still everywhere, but like he said it was like kind of trippy when there would be old people that he wouldn't expect to be aware of a more like relevant anime and yet they're like really like, "Oh, you mean that?" And I think part of it has to do with the fact that is very unapologetically, you know, stoked in Japanese like
Oh, called like lore and
lore.
culture, yeah.
Yeah, and then like I think the part I'm sticking to this other part for why I believe it's just so like popular also. The art design and especially with what the characters have, like even when we're not even talking what Udafo table did to it, it just everything screams drip, fashion, like it looks very popular. Like the fact that there is so much stuff that like just popped off for it, like so much that you can just wear that references back to it. Just I feel like it was a perfect synergistic thing that allowed it to get as popular as it did in Japan while it was still like on what's called in Shonen Jump during its regular run before it ended, and even when it just comes here to the states, you know, especially when you know like anime is way more popular now and just like a normal thing that people enjoy, and it's like I feel like that all just really adds to it. And just I know I went a little far, but relating back to ghost stories, I just think that's probably why, like in the same sense that ghost stories being very popular because of it relating more to Japanese folklore, and then kind of seeing how that can affect certain series that might just be very popular for one reason or another. Of course, I was of the understanding that I thought that it was a very lukewarm received show.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
everyone should go watch Ghost Stories. It's actually a good show.
watching the Spanish dub.
Yeah. Watch someone else's release. VPN yourself to a country where they're
Manual,
distributed by
manual.
someone else. Yeah. So,
It is
what is
available
that?
on Retro Crush. Please go watch it on that.
Oh, it is on Retro Crush. Okay, yeah. So there you go. Watch it out there. Um, but yeah, Ghost Stories it's a good show in general, and also the live action version, which I believe is called School. I mean, it's called something. These all have a title in Japanese that I don't fucking know
Mm.
what it is, but it's called School Ghost Stories, I believe, the English version. Um, I feel like we're gonna have the
Ooh.
discussion about the Japanese titles versus the American titles. It's like, are you a
Uh,
fan of Boku no Hero Academia? It's
um,
like it's like all the fuck all those people who are like Boku no Pico, Boku no. I mean, like Boku is my
Is
get the
literally
fuck up.
belonging to I, or belonging
Yes,
to me. Manual. Since
exactly.
they can hear me now, can I
Yes.
suggest one to talk about?
Oh, go ahead.
Kind of following up on Ghost Stories, kind of the so bad it's goodness, at least in the dub, even though this is also in Japanese. Uh, One that comes to mind when I think of that is an anime from like it must be near 10 years ago now. King's Game.
King's Game.
Yeah,
King's Game. Wait up, I want to look this up really quick.
yeah.
It sounds familiar, but
Yeah. Wait, is this a
So
horror?
basically, I mean, it's about a bunch of kids being challenged by like a spirit to essentially an extended game of truth or dare that has deadly consequences if you lose. It's not that good. It's so bad it's good.
I'm gonna watch this now. I have not seen this, but you know what this does remind me of?
What?
Based on what you just said, it reminds me of a and here's the thing, I don't know if this is a live action version of this or not, but when you said like if they lie, something bad
No,
happens, right?
if they lose, basically, Osama game is basically, or sorry, King's Game is essentially Japanese truth or dare. Like you get a
Japanese
challenge, you either have to
okay.
complete it or there's a punishment.
All right,
Oh.
so the thing I'm thinking of is it's not the same. What happens is I watched this like Japanese horror. It's just regular movie, just regular movie. Um and it what's it called? Has this group is like cursed in this school. They're cursed that if they tell a lie, there's like more rules, but the first one that they realize is that when they tell a lie, they like die is what ends up happening. There's like other things that are like thrown into the mix as they go on with different classmates, like understanding the rules of the game and everything. And so it becomes like a very like battle royale without it being that violent, but it's like think of it that way. It's very psychological. Everybody's trying to like figure out who will be the last one standing. Is there a way where they can beat it? And yeah. So like that's what I thought. So now I'm just really interested to see this. Ooh, it's only 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm interested.
And
It's
Mamoru
on
Miyano
Crunchy.
is the lead in Japanese, and he's basically doing his trademark ham to carry this show. Because I swear, if he had not been playing the lead in this movie or in this series, I probably would have dropped it. And I rarely ever drop anything. And it just gets so ridiculous. I could spoil it because it'll make as much sense now as if you'd watched the whole thing. Because apparently, a group of bugs were experimented on, became actual computer bugs, and now they can kill people with psychosomatic powers. So there's
What?
literally a scene where a
They
girl apparently
they
believes she's on fire,
Okay,
spouts
psychosomatic.
on
Okay.
fire. I think she takes her top off for whatever reason, and then just
Ooh.
dives into a lake, dead. It's like, okay, yeah, this is just so bad, it's good.
Do we see
so
the anime
okay.
titties?
Okay, I
No,
am I'm in,
she's
Oh,
still wearing her underwear.
it's TV
I
edit.
am
That's good.
I'm very interested to see this now. I'm glad that you recommended it
Yeah,
because it just
it's
sounds
on Crunchy. Does Crunchy
so
still have free? Does
bonkers.
still have
No,
free shit?
no, sorry, only specific like spooky ones for this season manual.
I'm gonna watch
It's
it on
pretty isolated.
Crunchyroll. I'm gonna watch it on Crunchyroll. Anyway, um, what the fuck was I gonna say about the? You said something about the fucking King's Game. What the fuck was I gonna
I,
say? I was gonna follow it up with something. I forgot what the hell it was.
I was
Anyway,
gonna follow up with live action when bringing up ghost stories. Did you ever see the live action of Another?
I didn't know there was. Well, I feel like
Yeah.
everything has a live action.
Okay. Well. Okay. So I think the live action of Another is hands down the worst live action in existence. There is no comparison My co-host even asked me like, is it worse than Dragon Ball Dragon
I
Ball Z
like
Evolution?
Dragon Ball
And I'm
Evolution.
Yes,
like,
Manuel, we know you
yes,
have terrible taste.
it is very much 1,000 times worse. Like, I know people want to bring up and just say how bad it is. It's like, yeah, Dragon Ball Z Evolution is a terrible movie, but you don't understand. There is nothing redeemable. Dragon Ball Z Evolution is redeemable when you tell your friends, who are all drunk, guys, guys,
Can I buy this on DVD then? Go
guys,
ahead.
I think we should watch an episode of Dragon Ball Z Evolution. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, okay, I'm gonna press play, and like everybody's drunk. Okay, so like nobody can do shit. Okay, and you're gonna have a good time regardless because it is so terrible, and you know that happened. You cannot do the same with another live action. One, you cannot even bring up the other option because if nobody knows what the fuck another is in the first place, it is automatically not going to be fun. If you even try to describe to them, it's just Final Destination, everyone's going to say, why don't we just watch Final Destination? And by the end of it, everybody will have said, why the fuck didn't we just watch Final Destination? Yeah, and it happened because like it came out in 2011. I didn't watch the anime until like after Attack on Titan because there was this one character I called Armin because I couldn't pronounce his long ass name. Because yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't pronounce his long ass name, so I just called him Armin. And then they told me there's a live action to it. It is terrible because all the deaths are neutered. None of them make sense. Some of them you'll even see coming from a mile away, and you'll be like, "What the fuck is this setup?" Like, what the fuck is this setup? We live in a world where Japan can go back, reference both Final Destination, and if we're talking horror movies also, well, I mean, Final Destination is horror, but like another horror movie that I think is the inspiration for Final Destination, The Omen from like way back. Because, you know, it's essentially death is just stalking people. It is bad. It is boring. Everything is lied.
I'm
You don't
not
even see
gonna
a lot of
lie.
death. Weapon?
I'm not gonna lie. This movie looks it looks kind of good.
No,
Look, we've
no, no, no. You're just
established
seeing
Manuel has terrible
clipped.
taste.
You're just seeing the clipped individual parts that make you feel like maybe. No, there are literally deaths. Like the deaths that you don't see is where you feel like, what the crap was this? And the deaths that you do see, there was no budget almost for like making them look good. They just kind of look like, what the fuck was this decision? And okay, so like you know at the very end, there's just bodies piling, like in the very like last 3 episodes.
Well, I see this picture of it. What about it? It looks gory.
Well, there are so many people who don't die like in the last like half hour because
Oh, I see what you're
it,
saying. Okay.
yeah, it gets to a point where like when they cover like a main spot. Okay, here's how stupid it is. They're supposed to go to a mansion. Okay, they're supposed to go to a mansion to fight this evil dark spirit from killing them all. Okay, and they're like, we have to go to this mansion because this is where they beat it the first time. Somehow they beat it, so we have to go here. And in the live action, they decide to put a nighttime filter, go back to the school, say that the school is the mansion, and I'm just kind of like, what is this budget? And there's literally a scene where they have shirts that they've packed, and they lay these shirts on the bed, and they hold shot on these shirts for a long ass time. And I'm like, okay, tell me that this was your sponsor without telling me that this was your sponsor.
Oh,
And
I'm not gonna lie. This movie looks. Oh, actually, no, I'm lying. This movie looks okay rated. I'm looking at like reviews and shit like that. See, the problem with a lot of live action adaptations of anime, and I think what you're getting at too, is that a lot of them are rushed. I don't mean rushes in production. I mean rushes in they tell a story that you're not really meant to tell in 90 minutes.
no, 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 no. They could have done it in the time frame. They could have done it, but when you watch it, you will be like, what the fuck is this? Not in the fun way. You will genuinely be questioning every decision that was made. I feel if there is a movie that makes you feel like if I was given the same budget, I would make something a billion times better in a very naive, very naive way, okay? This is that movie, okay? It will make you unapologetically be that person where everybody's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You don't understand you don't understand proper cinematography or storyboarding, or even like maybe even how to budget your wallet, and you will watch this movie and you will be like, oh my god, what was their budget, and how could I could have made something way better. I could call up all my friends right now who have no acting experience and tell them we're going to make a horror movie. They will all say I have no acting experience, and I will say, yeah, neither did any of whoever made the Evil Dead, again, Sam Raimi. None of Sam Raimi's friends had any acting experience, and they all enjoyed and had a great time and made a like legendary cult classic. Okay, so like, don't lie to me. Just yeah, it is genuinely probably the least enjoyable, if I'm not just straight up saying the worst live action adaptation. Okay, I don't care. There's Kite has a live action adaptation. Okay, that doesn't even fucking make sense. All right, I don't know how that works,
I
and
think
that
that is
is
an American one, doesn't it
Yes, it
too?
does with Samuel L. Jackson.
There you go.
yes, yes, that is infinitely also better. Like just I just yeah, no, I feel bad too, because it's like we've literally had movies that I feel kind of work as the inspiration for the anime, and the live action is just not fun. Even in the ways where we can make fun of how other live actions are rushed. Like we see, they're rushed. They condense it. There was no way that this could be done. But in there you'll still see like, okay, I mean, thank you for giving us the fodder, Japan, with the Attack on Titan CGI. Thank you for
Oh,
all these other things that make it kind of seem like you tried. Okay, and then you have something that could probably just work off practical effect alone, and it still just is spectacularly bad. Like why?
well, like,
Why?
see, I've had this conversation before with I used to be on a horror movie podcast. Well, I was still on it last year, but it's been a while. It, it, it's not a Halloween one, it's like a horror movie podcast in general. And I remember I was talking about some of the J horror stuff, and I was like, a lot of these movies are eh, are the are the Japanese equivalent to direct to video or direct to streaming releases. A lot of these movies, they may get a theatrical release, but they usually play in these like dinky, not really real theaters. Like they have a screening at like, some really see the theater system in Japan is totally different than it is here. So a lot of theaters are
Oh,
independent, but it'll be at an independent theater. But so a lot of these are small movies. And I think that's part of the issue with like some live action stuff. It's like we have this expectation. It's like, oh, it's live action. It's gonna be fucking great. And sometimes they'll even get um big name actors or like a big director. Or like, by the way, you'd be surprised how many times Takashi Miike's name's attached to some of these anime
Oh,
adaptations.
yeah, I was actually going to
Huh?
bring one of those up, but go on.
Uh, and it's like, and then they just fucking suck. And I think people have to just temper. I'm not saying you should have to temper your expectations. Like, it just is what it is. What was the one you were gonna bring up,
Oh,
JD? Taka-
directed by Takashi Miike, As the Gods Will. It's another.
Is
It's
that
based on another manga. Uh,
I don't think I've even seen the
if you've
anime
seen
or read the
Squid
manga
Game,
for
it's
that one.
kind of like that.
Okay.
It's like I don't remember if it's a classroom, but it's like a
Oh,
bunch
I've
of
seen this
kids
one. I've seen
who
this
are
one.
like forced by these supernatural beings to
Yeah.
play like death games, essentially. So like it's like in the style of like childhood games or like playground
It
games.
it's funny because like I originally one of my big theses for tonight was I was gonna like crap on Junji Ito adaptations. But like one of the things I like to talk about in a lot of things is Takashi Miike because he's very famous for his genre movies, hugely famous. Everyone talks about Audition. Everyone talks about what the fuck is that one where the Itchy the Killer? Everyone talks about that's all I remember off the top of my head. Those two are big enough though. Um, and what most people fail to realize, and this actually goes back to the thing I talk about where a lot of big movies are actually adaptations. Audition is based on a book, and it's almost note for note the book. Itchy the Killer is based on a manga. Um, what else did they fucking do? All the other
Ace
movies,
Attorney.
huh?
He did Ace
Voice Attorney's
Attorney.
based on but he's done a lot of people like think he's this crazy horror director. And the thing about Takashi Miike, and it's thanks for bringing up Ace Attorney, is that he is not a crazy horror director. He is the guy you go to when you want to get your movie done fast and cheap.
Okay, so he's Japanese Ron Howard.
Dead
Yeah,
or alive.
and
Oh,
he does really good work, but he just gets it done. He does like I think he has like hundreds of movies like under his belt, and most of them are anime adaptations. Like you just don't realize it. Like you might not know the anime, but none of his work is original. I think he might have written a screenplay, but they're adapted
is she the
screenplays.
killer?
So yeah, all the shit he's famous for is not. Anyways, it just that's my big rant. Also, Audition's a great movie. I think it's a little overdone though, and
Yamamoto stories?
Yeah.
Lord, the amount of shit that comes out. Is he just like always in a movie set? Is he just
yeah,
always
exactly.
like
No, I forgot the statistic. Oh, and then mind you, Takashi Miike is very famous, very famous for using pseudonyms and some shit. So I think he does like five to eight movies a year, something insane like that, like an insane amount. Well, he has to. He has over 100. Do the math, like like
How
he's
does
doing
this man
several
sleep?
a year.
Is he actually like
glasses
5 men in a
bitch?
trench
Oh
coat?
my gosh.
Exactly, he's 5 men in a trench coat running from set to set. I mean, some people just
First
want
off,
to. People just want to make
Secret
movies.
Heroine, Phantom Mirage.
I'm sure that's a magical girl thing. It
But
sounds like it at least.
yeah,
Also,
sorry,
huh?
I was
Oni fucking Musha this last year. What the fuck?
Funny because like another going back to the Junji Ito thing,
Shit, he ruined
um,
my hair. Fuck.
I
Oh
kind
my
of like
god.
Junji Ito manga. Um, some of it's really effective. I don't think anyone has ever made. See, Junji Ito is the Stephen King of Japan,
oh good, I was
and I
gonna say
don't
that,
mean
but you made it.
Now I
I
know,
don't.
JD. I know what you were talking about. I'm sorry. I hate to be
Oh, what movie?
interrupting you
As the God
talking about
wills.
Junji Ito. Yes, as the God wills. I remember this because the stupid drama thing, like, made the rounds at one point all over, like, what's it called, Facebook, when they were trying to do like their whole video centric stuff to compete with Twitch. So like they started to just have a lot of stuff before stories were like an actual thing, and this popped up, the scene where they like purposely try to survive the
Yeah,
the
Daruma falls
stupid
down.
make your
Yeah,
weapon.
Daruma fall down, I think is the name of the game in English.
Yeah, just like I like how that one guy flips off the stupid thing when they should have won. It's just like
Hey,
I think it's a
hey,
fun movie.
sorry for interrupting myself. But I was on Takashi Miike's page. There is a Yakuza. By the way, the Yakuza in Japan's called Like a Dragon.
Yeah,
But there's a Yakuza live action movie. It's 15 years old, and Takashi Miike directed it.
yeah,
This is
and you can
all
go see
news
it
to
in
me.
Persona 5. I mean, you don't actually
This
watch
is
the movie; your characters watch the movie. You don't get to see it.
this is all news to me. Every bit of everything I just said right now. What the fuck? Anyway,
Yeah, Junji
um,
Ito, the Stephen King of Japan.
so Junji Ito is the Stephen King of Japan. And I don't mean so, and definitely the horror part of it too. But what I really mean is nobody is able to properly adapt his work, in my opinion.
Hey,
Um,
Frank Darabont could adapt Stephen King.
wait, what did he do?
I might be getting the names wrong, but the guy who did The Green Mile and The Shawshank
Oh,
Redemption.
Frank Darabont.
Yeah,
Frank Darabont.
I
He's
mean,
also
that's
the guy who
Stephen
did
King,
Walking Dead.
like
Is he
and didn't he
Frank?
also do The Mist?
Yes.
Yeah, the one with the super thick
Okay.
ending.
It is Frank Darabont. Um, I guess the Mist is okay, and I guess the Green Mile. Okay,
Oh, if you say
this is
anything bad
good.
about the Shawshank Redemption manual, I might have to kill you.
I actually like the Shawshank Redemption too, but this is a really stupid thing to say because Stephen King does a lot more than just horror, but it's not horror, so who the fuck
Yeah.
cares?
Okay, it's not the topic of this podcast.
Uh, but the Junji Ito stuff, like the fuck, have you seen that anime? The Junji Ito collection is
Yeah.
trash,
Okay.
no, it's bad.
I
It's
kind of
really
like it.
bad.
and it's funny
It's,
because there are people who've done like not full shot by shot remakes, but like people on YouTube who've compared like the stuff that they're adapting versus the manga, and it's all like, why did you change this? Why did you add this shot? Why did you fuck this up? Like it's one thing if it's live, and I'll get to the live action in a minute, but it's one thing if you're animating it, it just feels like you have the groundwork there. How did you fuck it up?
Well, I mean, there are a bunch of ways. I mean, it could just be lack of time, other resources. imposed by the studio system, or not the studio system, but you know what I mean, the higher ups.
It's funny though because like Sony or whoever the fuck or Crunchyroll or I'm sure it's still Sony. Sony owns everything. Was like spending billion. I'm sure it wasn't billions, but they're spending a ton of money trying to promote this shit. I remember like they dedicated like the entire Crunchyroll of whatever that year was, 2019, I think, to like its release, and then it's fucking. I think they even premiered it there. Everybody was kind of like, "Oh, this is pretty bad," and like I don't know. Honestly, it's funny because part of my issue is my personal issue is that there's too much blues, and I know that's a weird complaint to have, but whenever I think of the Junji Ito collection, I think of everything being blue or black. It's like
I always
watching,
think just very heavy contrast to
yeah, and
light.
it's but like things. I guess this is a hard thing to adapt manga into because you have to color it, but like I feel whoever like is coloring a job you have in animation because I feel like
Yes.
whoever the fuck did that dropped the ball. Like, so, I don't know if it was.
I
Huh? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it all just feels very flat. Like
Oh yeah,
when you're watching it, nothing about it. It's just very interesting because, of course, I'm reading it. I'm reading just the manga. It's like what do I do? I'm just going off of like what I'm feeling in my head with what certain spots are supposed to be. But for the most part, it's getting the job done, and it's leaving dread. Like
yeah,
honestly, you could like page turn yourself into some nightmare fuel, or just simply feel as though everything just is genuinely off. And then when you're watching Junji Ito's stories, I'll agree. Something about colors and stuff just feels weird. Nothing is really grabbing my attention. I feel the way that it should. It kind of feels bland. Like it,
yeah.
it
The
feels
pacing's off. Everything's off.
yes.
Honestly, I'm not sure who directed it. I feel like they should. I mean, they probably did. So I'm probably wrong even saying this, but it feels like it's not directed by somebody who knows horror. They should have got a horror director to do it. Uh, Not Junji Ito. I mean, like a horror director, like somebody who's done horror movies. Like fucking
No, but
Takashi
it's
Miike.
it's it's hard though because like it's Junji Ito knows his craft. So when you're like reading the manga, it's going to it hits. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't hit you hard. Sometimes you're done reading it and then you're like,
Contemplating your life.
Oh,
like that's what happens. And I'm fighting off a sneeze. I'm sorry.
I was like,
okay.
no,
It won.
bless you.
Sorry. It's like, but like it's give me a sec.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's sneezing
Okay.
again. He's dying.
Sorry. It's yeah, no, it's my brain just blow back, I guess, but it's genuinely something where I feel like you can't just say, "Let me get a horror director." They're gonna know what to do. We're talking about like animation medium. I
Mhm.
feel that there is someone who is good in animation, understanding how that works. Like needs to also know how to integrate it into the anime. Like it's not always just simply that we need to get a horror director. It's like finding the right person who's passionate and understands it that will give you what you want. It's like Resident Evil. The first time that they made Resident Evil, they have it in like very static camera, 2D backgrounds with the 3D like character walking around and everything. And when they remade it, it looks so terrifying, despite the fact that they're just doing a higher resolution version of the same thing. But those camera angles, the everything there was time to really study and understand and improve as to why the remake is much scarier than the original. So it's more than just getting a horror director. You honestly need somebody who understands the medium also and why that's going to work that way. They were copying in the remake the photogenic realistic things that they could do with the GameCube to add on to what they had before, and it works. It's scary, but that's not like the first thing that was going to happen, especially for a game that was supposed to be just a cheap
Yeah.
George Romero movie. So um I really feel like they'd have to get more than just a horror director.
Yeah. Okay.
I genuinely feel like there has to be someone in animation who knows what they're doing that because they can do
Yeah.
shit in
Good.
animation
Good
that
point, Josh.
yeah,
Well,
sorry.
suffices to say that they dropped the ball. The live action adaptations fare a bit better, and there's not as many to talk about.
Uh,
Like the Tomiya series is the one that comes to mind immediately. But the
Mhm.
funny thing is that the Tomiya series is very standalone, like in general. Like it's this girl who gets cut up, maybe becomes another Tomiya or some bullshit like that. But like not
These are
that many of them are directly adapted from the manga. And there's a few that are, but not that many of them are. A lot of them are just let's tell a story about a creepy girl, you know. Let's tell a story about like bitchy Sadako because like I don't know if you ever watched Tomiya movie, but she's very like very like there's this one I'll never forget where she gets really pissed when this girl gives her instant coffee. She drinks it, she spits it in her face like, is this instant? And I'm like, what the fuck? And she
that's
made
some
her go out, yeah, and she
Regina
made her
George level horror right
exactly, and she made her like make like from the like grind it up and actually make coffee, and I'm like, god damn, it's like, is that scary? Or she's just being an asshole?
What was
But
JD gonna say? He was gonna say something a little earlier, and
Omiya?
then
oh, I was gonna. I had two things actually. I saw Spiral's one of Junji Ito's works, right?
Is it?
Uzumaki.
Oh, it is. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, there was a live action adaptation of that. I remember seeing like long ago, so I can barely remember, but I do remember really finding it creepy and enjoying it. And I'd say I was like the one person who maybe enjoyed collection anime. It was creepy in
What?
parts. Like I enjoyed some of the offness of it, I guess. I especially liked the parts with Soichi, the guy who puts curses on people, like
Yeah.
always has nails in his mouth. He's like my favorite. Like,
I didn't know anyone who likes that
yeah,
fucking thing.
like the oil one is like where the entire house is filled with oil or whatever, and it's just like being overtaken by that. Is just I think that's really creepy, and they did like a two like part Tomie OVA that I also liked.
Did you know that they're making a new Uzumaki?
Yes, I did.
I just found out about this second. Okay, I do want to say something about it. You know how I complained about the Junji Ito collection having wrong colors?
Yeah,
I swear to God, I did not know that they were making this Uzumaki anime, and apparently it's in black and white.
yeah,
That's what you need to fucking do, because I feel like there's something about Junji Ito. Well, I don't think I don't think it's impossible to make it color. I don't think that's the case. But I do think that Junji Ito collection, at the very least, proves that it can potentially be difficult
yeah.
to make it in color. But yeah, this Uzumaki thing is it's in black and white. It's fucking blowing my fucking mind.
Yep, like I say, that's the probably the Warner Brother money plus however long they've had to development like or develop it. Like it was announced so long ago, and we barely heard a whisper from it until we got like the trailer.
Yeah, it's wait,
I think they're
is it
probably
out?
trying to do it like maybe sprinkle out a little bit of the advertising, especially as it gets closer, but maybe they're trying to like due to the reception of maybe collection, they're probably just trying to like, okay, let's not overhype. Let's just show let's be simplistic to the point and then like see what everybody's reception will be when they actually watch it versus pour a little bit too much because like Junji Ito is a very popular mangaka. Like
The weird thing is like, sorry to interrupt, but this is going to the very popular thing. Did you know, and you probably did, but I was just curious what your response is still going to be. Did you know who Junji Ito was several years ago?
uh not exactly.
Define
Because like
several.
when you first got into anime, did Junji Ito, was he a
Not
name
when
that you heard?
not
No,
when I first got into anime. I
uh,
don't know. I was barely being fed like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon. How
I, mean,
the
I knew about him
fuck was
before
I gonna know who
collection
the
though.
hell
I guess
Junji
it's
Ito
too far
was?
back for you. But like, did you know who he was more than 5 years ago?
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
because
there was a time when like I feel that there was a different when the name was coming around that I wanted to say it was probably around 2016, 2017. I
Yeah.
think is when I first heard his name.
Plus manual.
see, that's actually the best time because like I was
Uh,
gonna say like I think that's about the time when they really started pushing this Junji Ito thing, and I'm like,
yeah.
there's better horror people to
Yeah.
push.
I
What
mean,
are you gonna
Manual
say, JD?
Collection was more than 5.5 years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah, early 2018.
Oh, dude, the pandemic fucks with my brain.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and it had a sequel series come out this year on Netflix.
Fun fact: when I say five, like I feel like those people who's like when I hear 20 years ago, I think the 80s, but it's actually 2000.
Yeah,
When I hear 5 years ago, I think 2016. So, uh, when I say 5 years
Yeah,
ago, so oops.
the pandemic really fucked things up. Yeah.
Anyway, what I was trying to say was that like, um, mind you, I had heard the name because I was a huge fan of the Tomie movies, and I remember buying those on DVD like when I was in high school. And but even then, like my point to bringing this up is like I think he's low key a little overrated. Like I was talking about like in my head, I was like Kazuo Umetsu. He does like the Drifting Classroom and a few other series. I can't remember off the top of my head. He does much better. He does like much more better horror manga. Shitara Kago. I already mentioned Toshio Maeda earlier. Hideshi Hino. That's the one I was really trying to think of. He's the one. He's more known for his movies, but he does some good crazy shit too. And Toshio Saiki's more of an artist, but he does crazy shit. Also, Suehiro Maro. He's the guy who did that Shoujo Tsubaki anime, and also the manga. Um, so yeah, those are my recommendations over Junji Ito. Don't be a basic Junji Ito bitch. There's more J horror out there. We're gonna
They got into our radar because of how far they got out there themselves. But
have you ever
maybe Junji Ito's good to just introduce some people through.
Have you ever seen that music video where they're like it's like those four teenagers like in the pool and like something eats them and it's like
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought that was a Junji Ito anime. I thought it was an AMV and I found out like earlier this year, like not even a long time ago, like earlier this year, I found out that that was just a music video for some random song. I don't know do you know what I'm talking about, JD?
no, I do not.
Hold on. Animated
Manual, just keep
horror
talking about something else.
music. No, I gotta look this
Yeah.
up. This is important. This is classic. This is classic.
When
It
you're
ruins
saying
every
classic, how far back? Because this
Okay,
isn't
I
that
found it.
old.
It's called Die by Fan. Wait, I don't know which one. I don't know. It's called Die Fantasy. It's Jerome Perrine. Who the fuck animated this? So I'm gonna have to Google this later. Anyways, sorry. I'm gonna look this up on my own time and try to have JD add it there. By the way, when I typed in anime horror anime in a pool, you get all these people like me. Like, what was that music video? Like, people sneak into a pool and get killed. I,
You're
I,
you're literally like doing the thing that makes that one guy who finds lost media on YouTube
exactly.
along the like, was that a fever dream or something?
It's like I had a dream where I was playing a game like Harvest Moon, but you kill your wife. Oh god. Last thing I wanted. Actually, it's funny because the first thing I wanted to mention was like an obvious. I think I consider a horror movie, a really underlooked J horror movie. Is got the original Godzilla.
Yeah,
Um,
Actually, yeah.
watch that in the original Japanese. There's a scene that gets me every time. Because first of all, when Godzilla is tearing up Tokyo, it is played like straight up serious. There's this scene where the
Yeah.
people are reporting on it, and like they're reporting about like, oh, he's destroying Tokyo Tower, he's destroying this, destroying that, and then Godzilla comes over and knocks over the thing they're on, and the people as they're dying, as they're falling, it's all like, this is it, it's the last broadcast, like signing off, like tell my wife I love her, and not as a joke, like totally, like he's saying all this as he's like dying. It's like, oh shit, it gets dark.
Mhm.
And obviously it was meant to be like, 1950s, everything's a fucking, every horror movie is a fucking a thing for something else, and that's obviously a thing about
Yeah.
like the atomic thing. And it's funny because most people don't put the time, like I love doing this in my head. We're a decade out after like World War II, so it's crazy how close that is to like pe-
You mean a do you say a decade or do you mean
a
like
decade, as in like Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
for when the
We're
movie came out? When the movie came out,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. We're like we're barely pushing past 10 years at
not
this
even
point.
10 years. Manual is
Oh,
1954.
there you go. So we're barely pushing close to 10 years at this point. It's crazy when you think about that because you don't really like, especially because none of us were alive for this, like here at least. So it's all ancient history to us. But it's wild to think about that. Like, imagine writing something about something that happened in 2016, and it's like it's that recent, like in their minds, and it's like,
I mean,
wow.
like if we literally have a movie that's kind of like a metaphor for like the pandemic,
Oh, I
and
would hate to see that. I think we need
I
a few more
mean,
years before that movie doesn't just become
it came
terrible.
it came out. It's called Don't Look Up.
Oh, you're right.
oh, I was
I
gonna
forgot
But
say,
about that.
like,
there was that bad
let's
Michael
say
Bay movie, or he produced it, he didn't direct it, but it was specifically about like COVID mutants or something,
COVID mutants.
or like
What were you gonna?
mutated variations of it is what I meant. But go ahead, we should also think about wrapping up soon.
Okay, what were you
yeah.
gonna say, Josh?
No, I was gonna say that. I mean, ultimately, that's what I feel makes a movie scary is when it's genuinely about something. But
Yeah.
I mean, looking back and just really understanding, like, this is supposed to be in reference more so to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the metaphor is literally just this giant, like, atomic breath breathing, like,
Mm-hmm.
what's it called, dinosaur and whatnot. So yeah, no, yeah, straight up not for laughs. Not even what we think of with Godzilla. Just like yeah, but I think that's what kind of helps with being so iconic. Both before Godzilla became what we better know Godzilla as, and then as this like once again metaphorical dinosaur. It's almost kind of fascinating how Godzilla is popular now the way that he is. Granted, with what it was like on its own, it would have
Thankfully,
been a good
he's getting more horror again. Thankfully, in my opinion, in the past few years,
yeah.
especially in I think there's a new movie coming out soon, a Japanese one. There's a new Godzilla movie coming out in a few months because I only know that because a friend of mine wanted me to go to Japan with him. Like I do not have the money for that, but he wanted me to go to Japan with him, and he. And one of the things he was trying to convince me to go is this new Godzilla movie out. We could watch it there, and I'm like, "Hello, movies get released in the world. I can watch it here."
Yeah, Manuel, the movie is Godzilla minus one,
Oh, the new one.
directed by Takashi Yamazaki. Never-
Ah, well, I'm gonna watch that one way or another. Do you have a final anime movie, whatever media recommendation, Josh? Before we wrap it up, mine was Godzilla, I guess.
Um, Dang, just talked so much about stuff. I'm like so lost for words
Demon
about
Slayer, another, but
Demon
not the live
Slayer.
action.
Oh my gosh. Dang. I don't know. Go watch Five Nights at Freddy's. I guess we're finally getting that movie.
You can watch Mandy, the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the legally distinct version of
No,
it. Not
that's
Mandy.
Willy's
Sorry.
Wonderland.
Thank you. Mandy's another movie he's in. It just popped in my head for some reason. There,
Go
that's the
watch
movie I was trying to.
go watch Oppenheimer. It's like
Yes.
I guess
Another.
it's now the pre-Godzilla.
Anyway.
Oh, that part. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be
I
fair, I mean, it is kind of weird, but I do feel that in terms of horrifying the situation, there are moments where it works. I think the scariest version of that movie was literally when the audio is cutting out after they've completed the bomb, and
Oh,
like everything gets so eerie. There's literally like what should be like the a woman just kind of giving like a nice shout, and instead all you hear is like a scream come out of her like mouth, and it's
it's
like
just
it's so quiet, and then when you hear the laughter come back again, it's literally just the sound of a bomb. And he's like, because it freaking hits you like a truck, and it's supposed to really symbolize like, oh, it's genie's out of the bottle now. Yeah.
yeah, Manuel,
yes.
I do have 2 minute last minute recs for
Go ahead.
younger audiences. I mentioned this before, or both of them before, on our Halloween candy episode from 2 weeks back.
Mhm.
But Gegege no Kitaro, 2018,
Mm.
it's on Crunchyroll, is another adaptation of the manga. It gets one like every decade or so,
Yeah, I
but
was gonna say, I think I've seen a different one, but yeah, go ahead.
it deals with like various Japanese supernatural spirits causing problems in the world, and how that can kind of comment on modern society in Japan. Like, there's one where a character basically just creates his own low salary workforce of kappa just by feeding them cucumbers, and how Kitaro basically gets them to revolt and like demand better treatment. Or like the overall theme of the series is, hey, racism is bad, and how
Yeah,
that
what it's
nearly
the
comes to blows
derogatory
between
terms.
humans and yokai. And then it's sort of successor series, uh, Digimon Ghost Game, which, hey, was what if we did
Ooh,
that but with Digimon?
Digimon.
Yeah,
digital monsters.
yeah. But now they basically take the place
Digimon
of
are the champion.
yokai and stuff, causing uh, like mischief in the real world. There's nothing like as terrible as some of the things that happen in Gegege no Kitaro, even though they're both suitable for kids. But yeah, those are my last minute recommendations. If you need to like plunk down your 10-year-old with something scary for Halloween and want to use anime.
You could also just show them the original Vampire Hunter D like I was.
Oh my gosh, no, that's just no. Let's leave it at the wholesome goodness. Those are good,
Yeah,
really good recommendations. JD came in clutch with.
thank you.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, don't do what I did, and don't watch that when you're like 9. Anyways,
watch
thank you for
RoboCop. Totally normal kids media.
man. I have
Totally.
we got to do that podcast like things I watched when I shouldn't have when I that would get weird. Anyway,
Digimon
we'll
Zero.
wrap it.
Digimon Zero. Yeah.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Josh, for joining us again. Next week we're gonna be watching a horror movie. I still haven't fully decided because honestly, I'll be real with you. The reason is just because I'm scared that if we watch the one I want to watch, it'll get taken down by Universal. So we're gonna watch something next week. A public domain horror movie. Hope maybe the one I want to watch. Well, we'll just fucking do it. In worst case scenario, it's a Patreon only.
Just want to celebrate that Steamboat Willie is going to become what's it called, public domain, and you just want to put that on in background.
We'll watch it. We'll watch that. We'll watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and get sued by Winnie the Pooh.
Oh
Blood
my!
and
Oh no!
Honey. Anyway, I'll figure it out though. Next week we'll watch something, and then the week after that's Halloween. I won't be here. Maybe GD will. We haven't talked about that yet either. But that's it. And tomorrow we're playing. We'll probably play some more Oregon Trail on here, and then next weekend we're doing. Next Friday we're doing Drink Talk Roll again. So that's it. All of our upcoming schedules. Anything you want to plug, Josh? Anything you're doing?
Follow me at Photaku Network and the Peak Filler Podcast. You can find both of those on Instagram and YouTube.
All right.
Nice. That's it. Thank you for watching. Peace out.